biggest thing for everyone when they're trying to train with Crohn's colitis or with a J pouch or with a colostomy bag is you need that knowledge of yourself. You need to know what
Yeah,
you're in and what comes out. So at the minute, I'm trialing bananas and seeing if that helps solidify things. I
yeah,
love a good chat.
yeah,
Yeah, trialing bananas and ultimately like one of the things I discovered. So there's a lot of diet, nutrition things out there at the minute. They're quite polarized, talking about like low carb to ketogenics to high carb traditional forms of diet. I try going into the sort of keto sort of thing and cutting out carbs. What I find is that makes me far too acidic. And so
yeah,
when I've a high level of acid, that makes things very uncomfortable, um, which means like sleepless nights, difficult training because of those sleepless nights. And then obviously experiences in the bathroom become slightly more discomforting. Uh,
yeah. I
but
know
yeah,
this. Yeah,
I think for me, I'm quite fortunate in that I can go and train, generally speaking, most days without many mishaps. But
yeah,
I'll always, I'm on the toilet before I train.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, I do exactly the same.
But yeah, do you know what, actually, whenever I had the bag, I actually found it quite convenient sometimes going to the bathroom. So
Yeah,
like one of their sports is golf, and I go out with my mate Ollie, and we play nine holes, and I'd need to empty the bag like at nine holes, and so
yeah.
sometimes it wasn't convenient to go back in to find a toilet, so just literally behind a bush, take a knee, roll out the bag, out we go, flush it with a bit of water, done, and off we go.
Absolutely. I like I said, it's a tough realization you have to go back to a bag, and it comes with this stigma and all that. And people obviously without the bag, they wouldn't understand that. But it definitely makes your time a lot more productive and your life a lot easier. Excuse me, once you get used to it. Um, like I know now, say we're gonna have a family day out. I have no absolutely no worries about the time I'm going to be spending out and the time I'm going to be spending away from the toilet. Not always thinking, right, where's the next toilet? If we go there today, let's plan where the toilet's going to be. Or if I eat this, then it's going to be a little bit difficult to go out and do certain things. So I definitely think that my life has changed for the better with having the bag. Now, when it comes to training, like I said, I can go for a lot longer without even worrying about thinking toilet, toilet, toilet. Um, and it does, yeah, I think it just gives you a lot more freedom, without a doubt, a lot more freedom. What about actually your training and fatigue level? So that the level you train at, does it make you ill? So having UC or having Crohn's, now the different training levels, so whether you're just someone who just enjoys just general activity or someone who competes, sort of where you sit in between, like whether you sit either one of them or sit in between, does the training actually physically make you feel worse? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean there are athletes out there that obviously play elite level sport. You know, there's Michelle Wilcox, who's like a GB triathlete, but
Uh-huh.
she's an ostomy or has an ostomy.
Yeah,
Um, And then there's a couple out there like Darren Fletcher and the likes who are all ambassadors for Crohn's Colitis UK.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
But I think for me, there's a way, there is definitely a way, there's definitely scope to push your training up to competing at whatever level potentially you want to achieve. For me, I haven't found that way yet, and I'll be honest, my training is at a level that I find comfortable.
yeah.
It
Okay,
takes it's something I've got to be very careful about. I think like we're both parents now, and one of the things I'm really conscious of is having enough energy in the evenings.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that in itself makes me
yeah,
taper my training somewhat, so that I'm not completely spent. Because there'll be times I'll get fed up and I'll just want to have a hard training session, and
yeah,
I'll do it, and it's nowhere near as hard as what, which that's another conversation. It's nowhere near as hard as what
yeah,
I would previously have trained at.
yeah,
Uh, but there'll be literally a physical switch. I'll feel like a physical switch inside me, or I can actually feel myself approaching that line.
yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes I'll go, do you know what? I'm going through it today. But then, like afterwards, I am totally depleted. It's like I've
fact.
run out of energy completely, and it's
Yeah,
like I sleep. and it's such a strange thing, like, because I'll be fine up until that point, and I feel like, come on, today's the day, let's push it, and I'll feel that it almost feels like someone kicking your insides,
Absolutely.
and then it's like, boom, cold sweats, but I need to sleep, I need to sit down, I need to literally do nothing for the next hour and a half, and then even after that, I'm in recovery mode. That's it. Like,
but the difficulty is, as you mentioned, is that you're either still in work and you've still got to go out there and treat your patients and be involved and be enthusiastic. But you really want a hard session in the afternoon. So it's a fine balance you find. Now, the difference is if you're a full-time athlete, like the guys and girls you've mentioned, is that they will have the sufficient rest and recovery required, governed by their strength and conditioning coach or their diet nutritionist. So that's the difference we have between essentially is a full-time athlete and then us guys who are full-time working. Family people that really like to train hard but find it very, very hard to find a good balance. Like I said, previous to having the pouch, I used to find that, I'd wake up in the morning, I'm sure most people do, I'd wake up in the morning where I'd probably be about 50% of my battery full. I never felt like I had a full battery, and that was before I had the little one, so the sleepless nights and so forth. So you'd wake up in the morning, 50% battery. Then you think, right, my training is going to be, I'm going to be going training early morning to get something in before work, and that would be a WOD of some type, some high intensity training, nothing too heavy lifting because it's too early, and then you'd have your breakfast and then you'd train at lunch. So you'd have an hour and a half of training lunch, and that'd be a lifting period. So we do some kind of resistance training or some kind of Olympic lifting. Now all the time your battery's depleting, continue depleting. So by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when you've got your notes to get down and you're still expected to be, full on in work, is that you're actually almost 0% your battery. The coffee, or you're getting any food that you can, anything you can, just to give you a little bit of buzz. And generally, that would end up for most people as sugars because there's a quick rush and I can feel good for about 5 minutes, and then you get that kind of smash. It's gone again. So. And then evening time, you just feel like completely depleted. That's it. Your energy's gone. Get in a bit of food, maybe feel a little better, and then early to bed. But then it's the same again. You wake up the next morning, you start depleted. So the difficulty is finding the right balance between training hard enough to feel good or for what sport you're doing, but also having the sufficient recovery afterwards. And everyone's going to be so different with their experiences of obviously toilet, diet, training, family life. It's very, very difficult to fit everything around. But somehow we just manage. Somehow there's no point. I've seen on forums that people say, I used to train 3-4 times a week and compete maybe once, twice a week. And I've had to completely stop doing that. And I'd understand, yes, if you're having a flare up or if you're having a really, really bad few weeks. But to stop completely, I don't think that really will help in the long term. I think it's just going to find, slowly sort of break it down and slowly introduce things rather than just completely stop and cut that out of your life. But I feel some people need to understand.
I think it's a big thing that people get lost in. Maybe get lost in the enormity of what is happening to your body.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's understandable. I completely get it. But I think for me, it's looking at your mindset and looking at like how do you move forward now with what you've got. And I think some people like feel that they've lost a normal life, but what I would ask people to do is to maybe ask themselves, well, what is a normal life?
It's not the be all and end all. Even with just the diagnosis, first of all, it's not the be all and end all. It doesn't have to define who you are or what you're able to do. Secondly, don't stop what you're doing because of this. Try and work out ways around how you can set little goals and not just think, right, that's it, got a diagnosis, I'm not going to get any better, I'm not going to get back to where I was, so let's ultimately just stop what I'm doing. That's not the point, that's not the approach, because you've got to be positive throughout. Thirdly is just, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's a horrible, debilitating disease, but I found I found for myself is that a lot more people out there experiencing these kind of problems, and the more you talk about it, and the more people you get involved, you can flow off each other and understand what works for them, but might actually work for you that you never thought about before. So it's having a good support group as well, and just get out there, enjoy it, and embrace it, and just try and overcome everything. You know, it's a horrible hurdle to overcome, but with support of family, friends, and people that have been through the same kind of thing, is that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, I pretty much would just echo that. Like, the first thing is that you're never alone. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
We were talking earlier about we stand alone together.
Yeah.
But in that, you know, you're never actually truly really alone. There's always people there. So I never suffer in silence. There's always someone you can speak to, and just don't feel ashamed about it. One of the biggest things for me was, and it's probably just the person that I am anyway, is the first conversation I had with anybody since I was diagnosed and had a colostomy bag was to instantly talk about the colostomy bag. I just elephant in the room. I'm gonna talk about it. All of a sudden, just because I did that, it removed any sort of stigma around it. It removed that I took it, I owned it, and because I'm talking about it, then I'm on the front foot.
Yeah, so, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and then just do that one thing. You do one thing. If you weren't doing it before, you're doing, like we said before, you're doing 100% more than what you were doing the day before. So do one thing, that's 100% more than you were doing before.
Yeah.
Like, all right, guys, I hope you got something from that today. Me and John's got to go back to being dads now and sort out some 3-year-olds.
Get him to bed.
All that fun and games. But yeah. Okay guys, that concludes today's episode. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to press the like button down below, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to be backwards and forwards updating you with more information on Crohn's and colitis and generally sharing our story. So I will see you guys soon.